Hi, everyone. If you're joining us, it just turned 1 o'clock, and Christina and I are running this show kind of on our own today. So forgive us as we coordinate all of the logistics. And I will tell you, as Christina is getting ready to pull up the actual presentation, this is going to be super interactive. So we really want you to send questions. We'd love for you to just put them in through chat as you think of them, and we will pause along the way as well for kind of formal question and answer time.
All right, so welcome to Women Wednesday's Entrepreneur Series. I'm Christina Hager. I'm actually filling in for Brandy for the introduction. I'm one of the presenters. And this series is for business owners who have been impacted by COVID. And so we're really excited you're here today with Aviva and I as part of this series. There will be a recording that you can access on the Women's Business Center YouTube channel. You can get there by going through their website. And at the end slide, you'll also see something about how to join for the remaining classes. Now, this is the last in this particular series, in this 4-part series. We'll be offering this series again in October. Aviva is offering a class, I believe next week she'll tell you about, but you can, through Eventbrite, access a lot of other links. So we just want to test, because Aviva and I are on our own today, we want to make sure that chat is working. And that you can see our slides and both of us. So let me know, I'm gonna have, when Aviva starts to introduce herself, just let us know in the chat that you can see her. But I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myself first. I'm Christina Hager, and I'm president of Ovations Digital. And I'm a social media strategist. And what that means is I help individuals, brands, and organizations use social media strategically to reach your business goals. I have clients on the B2C and the B2B side, individual thought leaders like attorneys, financial and wealth advisors, doctors, as well as brick and mortar stores, e-commerce, fitness, beauty, restaurants, nonprofits, and the arts. So see a little bit of everything. I am also a small business owner myself. And so I understand the challenges that small business owners face, especially right now. And so I'm really passionate and excited about giving you tools and resources to arm yourself for your social media journey and give you the best in ROI that we can provide you. And now I'll turn it over to Aviva.
Thanks, Christina. So can someone just let us know in chat? I just want to confirm that everyone can see me. I can see Christina in the screen, but I can't see myself, which is perfectly okay as long as you all can see me. I am Aviva Ajmera. I'm co-founder and CEO of Solve KC. I've been giving a version of this class for the past 4 years to entrepreneurs and small to medium-sized businesses all over Kansas City. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be doing the entire series of Social Media for Business with Christina. She is actually my personal social media guru, and I'm thrilled that we can share this with all of you. I also wanted to give a big thank you to the Women's Business Center for sponsoring our social media series. So like Christina, our firm has B2B and B2C clients across many industries. We do a lot of strategic planning and implementation work for our clients, and we also work with a lot of board of directors to help them become high performing. And common to all of this work is marketing and social media. Personally, I've been a part of a large international consumer packaged goods company, 2 international B2B consulting firms, and now I own my own firm. And every single one of these companies uses social media differently. They focus on different platforms, and the kinds of messages that they have are very different. So our hope for you today and throughout our series is that you will figure out what works best for you. As Christina said, this is the 4th class in our 4-part series. I will be teaching a consumer targeting class next Wednesday. Now more than ever, businesses and organizations need to be crystal clear on who their target consumer is. So if that's something that's of interest to you, just like you signed up for this class, please feel free to sign up for the consumer targeting class. And also, as Christina said, because I know folks are joining us, in October, we will share this entire series again, and we fully expect that there will be some updated information because That's just how social media is. So please free to join us for that. All of the sessions that we've already given, including today, are recorded also. So you've got a lot of opportunities to catch up on anything that we've shared in case you've missed it. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So, when people think about social media, a lot of times they can relate to one of these three pictures. So I think many of us have family members, maybe children or nieces or nephews that really, they're just kind of glued to their devices all the time. And maybe we have a bit of a negative connotation with social media because we just think of it as, rather than talking to one another, people are just on their devices communicating with one another. Or perhaps social media is a little bit scary. It could feel like back when we were in grade school and middle school in chemistry class, and we had lots of things that we were mixing, and perhaps we're scared if we touch the wrong button or we do something wrong, we're going to have this irrevocable explosion. Well, you won't. We promise you, you won't. Or it could just be as simple as, you know what? There's a lot of vernacular in social media, and I don't know what any of it means, which is why I haven't really gotten intimate with my social media. Well, we're going to try to debunk any concerns that you have and make sure that you leave this next 90 minutes feeling really confident and really inspired to go ahead and take on Instagram and Twitter for your business. So here's specifically what we're going to talk about. We will start with really just some basic data on why social media is so critical. We will share with you some vernacular specific to Twitter and Instagram, and we'll also share with you some information on how COVID-19 has changed social media. We'll do that at the beginning, but throughout our time today, you'll notice in the upper left-hand corner of certain slides, this little COVID-19 icon. Those are slides that are very specific to COVID-19 and whatever platform we might be discussing. Then we're going to dig into Instagram. We'll start in with some fast facts. We love sharing local success examples, so we'll use those as a way to illustrate our tips and really kind of insider tricks on how to get the most out of Instagram for your business. And then we're also going to talk about Instagram stories and Instagram influencers. And as I mentioned, we will be taking Q&A at the end of that section, but we would love for you guys to just submit questions along the way. Then we will move on into Twitter for your business. So again, we'll start with some fast facts. We will use some local success examples throughout our Twitter conversation. And we're going to talk to you about, if you have customer service as a part of your business, really how Twitter can be phenomenal for you. We'll end with some Q&A, and then the last part of our time together, we'll give you some tools on how to build your plan. So we'll recap with a summary on some do's and don'ts. There are some great tools out there to help you not only with content creation and scheduling. So we'll share those with you, and then we'll give you a couple of worksheets just so you can start to plan out your August calendar. So that's what we're going to talk to you about.
Social media is critical for your business. Look at this stat. 74% of consumers rely on social media to make business decisions. We also see that 71% of consumers who experience positive feelings or customer service with the brand are likely to recommend it to others. Couple that with the fact that people who have successful service on social media see a retention rate of about 92% of their customers. So it's essential for so many reasons. Also, we're seeing a change in how customers are coming to you as business owners. We have customers who want to shop by catalogs or direct mail. They don't even sort of know what those are. We have consumers who care just as much about how a product makes them feel and what the brand or business is all about as they do what that final product is. And you'll see today that customers are expecting you to seek them out in a different way. And social media is a great way to meet them where they are. We also see that, and Aviva will talk about sort of the demographics of social media. Millennials are a top demographic of both Twitter and Instagram. Well, let me tell you what, millennials currently have $200 billion of spending power, $200 million of spending power, and they will have $10 trillion of spending power over their lifetime. So to ignore millennials and say, well, that's not my total target demographic right now, is a mistake, because they're coming up and they're ready to open their wallets and they want your products and services. And if you're not marketing to them or communicating to them in the way that they want, they will go to one of your competitors. Consumers follow brands on social media for a lot of different reasons. But what you'll see from this chart, they're not often following brands on social media because they want to be sold to. We're seeing that they want information. They want to research products. They want to learn about discounts, but they want to be entertained. They want to be educated. They want to be inspired, or they even want to talk to you. People now feel a different sense of ownership to brands that they love. They like engaging with you. So you can really use social media to your benefit to really connect with your consumers and customers in the way they want you to communicate with. Now, we have a lot of different impacts that COVID has changed how social media is being used today. And it's important as a business owner or a company that you understand how COVID is changing the way people use social media so that you can interact with them in an appropriate way. Before COVID, so we're thinking January 2020, March 2020, we're seeing a huge increase in social media use. There are currently 3.81 billion social media users worldwide, and that's supposed to be 50% of the population by the end of this year. Last year, we saw an increase in about 1% of the population, but we saw an increase in 8% in people who are using social media. And we see year over year, more and more people are getting involved in social media. Well, then COVID hits, and people all over, different demographics, all started using the channels in different ways and expanding their time on social media. You can see here in the bottom right, this is increased social media use by age group. And you can see across the board, people are spending more time on social media channels, and they're doing different things on them. First, they're looking to get information. 62% of Americans turn to social media to get their news, which is a huge stat. And more people are actually logging on to their Instagram, their Twitter, and they're using that little search bar function at the top to try to use that like you would use a Google search function. And so think about how people might be searching for your services or information on social. They're using it in a different way. A lot of times we see key times of engagement in the afternoon or the evening. All of that has really been shifted up into the late morning hours, and we'll talk about that more specifically in the platforms. We saw a little bit of a dip in engagement with brands in March, but then we saw it really increase across all channels. And so we're seeing people are back to communicating with brands and businesses on social media. So don't be scared. They actually want your information. We're also seeing that ad spend is down, but click-throughs, people clicking through to an ad to your website or to the ad, is up. Along with that, people are really wanting to connect with brands and businesses across social. People are finding it reassuring during this time to hear that your brand still exists. They want to know how you're reacting to the COVID outbreak. So many brands and businesses can use Twitter and Instagram as a way to communicate updates with so many, let's say, restaurants changing policies, with schools changing policies. Social media is a great way to get out that information. Only a small percentage in April said they didn't want to hear from businesses or brands right now. You're actually seeing kind of a hunger. Actually, 38% of Americans polled said that if they were no longer hearing from a business or brand on social media times COVID, they actually assume it's that COVID has hit that brand or business hard and they are no longer financially solvent. So you might have been staying off of social media out of respect maybe during this time. You didn't want to push your product or services. That may leave your consumers feeling like you're actually no longer in business. So don't make that mistake.
All right, this next slide we will be sharing with you in our handouts. I will tell you that we've pulled data from over 20, probably 30 or 40 different sites to pull together really kind of a cross comparison of the top 4 social media platforms for your business. So I'm going to cover them not exhaustively, but really in a way to try to build out some compare and contrast in case you are on one social media platform and you're thinking about a second, or you might be on two, thinking about a third, whatever the case might be. So Facebook, I think everybody knows, is the most popular social media platform. LinkedIn is the world's largest professional network. Instagram is the second most popular social media platform. And Twitter is the second most recognized platform. So Facebook, why are people on Facebook when it comes to their business? Well, it's the #1 social media site to influence purchase. It does have the absolute highest number of users at 2.6 billion and over 90 million Facebook business pages. On average, people spend about 58 minutes a day. Now, it's not all at once. It does tend to be broken out, but they are on Facebook more than they're on any other social media platform. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is all about business-oriented social networking, and it's about connecting with top industry influencers. LinkedIn still has quite a few users, 660 million with 40 million business pages. However, it does skew a little bit older, with 79% being 35 or older. So again, the professionals. It's a great place for like-minded professionals to connect, discuss trends, job opportunities, and networking. And it is ideal if you are a B2B, so a business to business type of organization. It's a great way to reinforce your brand and build professional credibility. Instagram, what we're talking about today. It is a social sharing site around pictures and 15-second videos. Instagram has 1 billion users. However, unlike LinkedIn, 90% of them are under the age of 35. 75% of US businesses use Instagram. 75%. Lots of hashtags on Instagram. Christina's got a couple of really fun, great slides where she's going to talk about that. But on average, people are spending 28 minutes a day, so not nearly as much as Facebook. Instagram is ideal for mobile devices, for driving engagement, and especially if you have an image-friendly business. So something like retail or art, food, entertainment, travel, beauty, absolutely ideal for Instagram. And then we've got Twitter, a microblogging site. It does limit your posts to 280 characters. It also has 600 million users. Interestingly, the demographics skew lower. So the highest number of users are in that 18 to 29 age group, with those 50 and above being the smallest number. There are 6,000 tweets every single second. 6,000. It is where hashtags were born, and 67% of businesses have a Twitter account. Twitter is best for PR and news and real-time customer engagement.
So when we talk about why these platforms are important for you or your business, we have to all learn to speak social so we understand the terms that we're saying and how they might benefit your organization. So users are basically just the people who are using the platform or the channels. Likes for Twitter and Instagram are both when you hit that little heart icon and turn it red. Feed is the rolling list of the content on any channel. So when you open it up on your phone and you see a bunch of little feed in either channel. And engagement, which is an important metric, is people who share, like, or comment on any of your posts. They're engaging with it. Retweet, this is if you've put a tweet out on Twitter, someone who retweets it or shares it onto their page. They might make a comment on it and they may not. On Facebook and LinkedIn, we just call this resharing, but on Twitter, it's retweet. And then we have click-throughs. These are people who click through to your website or to something else that you've designated as a URL in your bio that they can click through to. Your handle, both Twitter and Instagram give you a handle, and it's your unique name. It's just at, and then whatever it is. Mine happens to be at Christina M. Hager on both Twitter and Instagram. It would be at Nike, at Johnny's Tavern. That's a handle. When you want to tag a business or a person on Instagram or Twitter, all you need to do is hit the at sign immediately followed by their handle name. And a DM, this means direct message. And so this is a private message between two or more accounts, either on Twitter or on Instagram. And a little fun fact about our hashtags. What are hashtags? Hashtag is basically a collection of content over a particular topic on a social media channel. It may include a theme, an event, a day. Super Bowl Sunday always has many hashtags. The Emmys, the Oscars. It could be a fun holiday. It might be a branded hashtag like Just Do It, but that's what collects them all. So when we talk about hashtags, it's basically a way to find content or to categorize all that content. And as a business owner, this is really helpful for you because you can find the people or organizations who are talking about the things that are interesting to you or your business. You can look it up in the search bar of either Instagram or Twitter, hashtag followed by whatever subject you want, and see all the people who have been tweeting or posting Instagram posts about that. It really creates hype for your business and it curates that content. So you can sort of think about hashtags like a bookmark in the library that is Twitter or the library that is Instagram. Now, if you're creating hashtags for your organization and using them in your posts, which we really think you should, be specific. They can be fun, but make them relevant. Don't make them too long or too clever or too sarcastic. People won't type it in. The longer they are, the more mistakes people will make. And so you don't want that. It's always helpful also to sort of jump on the bandwagon of what's trending as long as it's appropriate for your organization. So here's how you use them. They need to be specific. For Twitter, you're just going to use 2 or 3 hashtags per tweet. Any more than that, and you're going to see an adverse effect to having hashtags. On Instagram, you can use up to 30. You can use as little as none or 1, but we found, and data tells us, that a really magical number, if you want to be discovered by using a hashtag, would be 11. And so it really depends where your business and organization is. If you're really wanting a lot of new eyes to try to come to your content, or if you're really established and you're really just trying to share what that post is about. And we'd say go ahead and use them on every post that you have, unless there's a super compelling reason that you want a piece of content without a hashtag. Now, you can search for any of these hashtags, as we've said, or you can Google to see what are the top hashtags on Twitter right now, or what are the top hashtags for my industry. If you're wondering for your organization, well, what should I use for my business? WriteTag.com is a free tool that lets you put in words associated with your business, and it tells you how well those hashtags do on the platform. Meaning, are people tweeting or using Instagram and talking about them a lot, or not really? So that's really helpful if you're wanting to research what hashtags you should come up with. So let's talk about Instagram.
All right, so now we're going to move specifically into Instagram for the next chunk of time that we have together. So as we said earlier, we said Instagram is ideal for mobile devices and image-friendly businesses. People always want to know what's the best time to post, or what are the best days to post. So our orange chart over on the right will show you that the best days are Mondays and Thursdays, and the best times probably not what you're expecting. So 2 a.m., which hopefully none of us are actually awake at 2 a.m. But as I mentioned, we're going to teach you how to schedule 8 to 9 a.m. So that makes sense because it's when people are getting started for their day. And then we have 5 p.m., which again makes sense because it's the end of the day. So a few other things about Instagram. 81% of people use Instagram to research products and services, and 83% actually discover new products and services while they're on Instagram. From an engagement standpoint, the Instagram numbers are pretty exciting. 58% higher than Facebook and 120% higher than Twitter. So really, if you are even slightly considering Instagram for your business, I think by the end of our session, Christina and I are going to convince you it's something that you need to start doing. It's always interesting to look at, well, who are the top brands on this platform? So we found this chart literally just by searching in Google, top brands in the US on Instagram. And you can see Nike is at the very top, and I'm not going to read down the whole list, but if you're curious to know what they do really well, just start following them. And you can get a really good sense of what kinds of things they show pictures of, how they engage their consumers, how they use hashtags, how they use handles, all of which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. So even though we mentioned that the age 50 and up age group is the smallest demographic, it is important to know if that's your consumer target, they are also the greatest growing demographic on Instagram. So I wouldn't eliminate using Instagram if that's your target market. 60% of the world's top brands use Instagram, and on average, they post 2.5 times a week. And 90% of accounts follow at least one brand. 80% of users use Instagram to make buying decisions. And just a little fun fact for you, the name Instagram comes from three words. So 2 sets of words, instant camera and telegram.
So as Aviva said, following businesses that are already doing an amazing job on Instagram will help get your creative juices flowing and help you form strategy as to how you can attract your customers. But the first thing you need to do is make sure that you've created a business account on Instagram. Gives you a lot of differentiators that you don't get just from the personal profile. Plus it's free, so you definitely want to do it. A few things of the businesses that we wanted to highlight, Nike as #1 on Instagram in the US does an amazing job because they don't just post product after product. It's a really inspirational channel. Oreo is actually named one of the top Instagram accounts to follow if you're an entrepreneur. They use amazing use of color. It's not unlikely one of their posts will get 50,000 hearts and likes, as well as hundreds of comments, and they've done a beautiful job using these 10 to 15 second videos. And so if you're interested in using video, follow them. And this last picture in the middle is actually FedEx, which has an amazing Instagram account. They count on a lot of user-generated content, which means content that comes to them from their consumers or other people, not their marketing department. We'll talk about why that's important. But so you've created a business account. Now you need to make sure you link it to your website or wherever else you want to drive traffic. Instagram only gives you one clickable website. And it's in your profile. And so that's where you want to put that. Now, what do? You need to post regularly and at those key times, use your hashtags. If you have a product or service, Instagram with your business account gives you the ability to create shoppable posts, which is you can tag a product on there and a user or consumer can click on it to see more about it and go directly to your little shop in Instagram. Very helpful if you have a B2C business. You can also run giveaways and promotions. Make sure you Google the rules on how to do this. Instagram has some really sticky language you need to use. Don't forget to engage with your followers. It sounds so silly, but we say this every week. You can have a profile, you can have a page. You actually have to do something with it besides posting. You have to engage with your followers. And something that I would like to share with you, and this is a little secret sauce tip, is what I call the 5x5 methodology. So if you have used Instagram before at all, you'll know that when you follow a new account, sometimes Instagram recommends other accounts that you may like. Well, use that algorithm to come up with that. Part of the way that you can be included is by using this 5x5 methodology. So think about the businesses or other handles on Instagram that you want to be associated with? Meaning, if someone follows them, do you want your name of your business to also show up as a suggestion for them to follow? So find 5 businesses, or they could be individuals, then go to 5 of their posts and write 1 comment in each. So this is going to be a total of 5 by 5, 25 comments. That puts you into the running, the algorithm that Instagram recognizes that somehow you have something to do with those companies. And this is just also a good practice that you should be engaging in others in fields that are related to the services you offer. You also want to use Instagram stories, and we'll have a whole slide dedicated to that and what those are. So Aviva is going to tell you some tips and some awesome success stories.
So I love that 5 by 5 methodology, Christina, because I actually didn't know what that was. And I thought I was being a really good Instagram friend just by hearting businesses. I didn't realize how important it actually was to comment on it. So I think that was probably a great learning for everybody here. So let's talk about a few more tips when it comes to Instagram. And we're going to showcase a couple of local examples. So we've been saying from the beginning, if you're on Instagram, beautiful imagery is key. And it's really important to use keywords. Also in your posts, we highly recommend you'll ultimately get to the point where you'll not only have content that you generate, but there are techniques that can create user-generated content as well. And that actually gets more engagement. We always encourage you to have a photo and a location because you'll get 79% more engagement. And if you include another handle, that will also gain you 56% more engagement. We talked about the magic number of 11, but even if you only have 1 hashtag, it'll get you 12.6% more engagement. Photos will generate 36% more engagement than videos, but photos with a face will get 38% more likes. So the first example that we're going to show you is of a good friend of ours. Her name is Lauren Lane, and she retired from Hallmark, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and her passion has always been culinary. So she has a business page that's called Lauren Lane Culinarian, and you can see she's almost got 19,000 followers. Lauren does a great job of describing kind of who she is and where she lives in her bio. And then she also, the 2 pictures on the right illustrate just a couple of examples of beautiful imagery. So she's all about sharing recipes, sharing tablescapes, sharing ways to entertain, from drinks to the overall ambiance. And she's even categorized her posts in the circles you can see on the bottom into the different categories or topics that she tends to post on. Our second example is of HitchFit. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with who Micah and Diana are, but they're friends of both of ours. They're actually the #1 online personal training in the world. They have clients in, I don't know that I'm going to get this 100% right, but I think it's about 70 countries, and they've been in business about 10 years. And just look at some of the things that they do really well. They've got a hashtag in their description. They've got a link. And then they have posts of all kinds of categories. So not only inspirational posts and transformational posts, they have graced many magazine covers. So every now and then they have that. They put promotions on there. I would highly recommend you follow both of these on Instagram, but for HitchFit, they're on every single handle. So they're also on Facebook, they're also on LinkedIn, and they're also on Twitter. So if that's something that you're interested in, I know Micah would be honored if you followed him. You'll see some really phenomenal examples of how they really try to engage and inspire and keep their followers interested in what they have to post.
And part of what both of these local companies and local business owners do really well is utilize Instagram stories. Instagram stories are relatively new in the world of social media, and what they are, they're little posts and videos that disappear after 24 hours. And slideshow formats. And why do we even want them? They're a great way to increase this authentic engagement and connection with your followers, because since they're viewed in a slideshow format, you actually see them blend one into another, and it doesn't matter whether it's a personal friend's Instagram story or a business. So I may see Aviva's Instagram stories and they immediately roll into Hitch Fit stories, which immediately roll into KC SourceLink stories, which immediately roll into Nike stories. So it gives you that TV feeling. And because of that, it doesn't look like people and businesses are selling to you. It looks very authentic. Since they disappear in 24 hours, well, what do we do then? Luckily, there's a way that you can save them in your highlights album, and those will show up on your profile page or Instagram. People often say, well, where are they, or what are they, or how do I even create an Instagram story? So once you open your Instagram, all you need to do, I've opened my phone, and you just slide to the left, and then you have all the tools that you need to create an Instagram story. Slide to the right. I'm backwards on my phone. That will help you start the journey. And luckily, Instagram stories don't need that same level of super professional, amazing graphically designed content that some of your marketing materials need. People like the authentic feel of them. They want to know that there's a person creating these, not just a graphic design machine. So go ahead and try to create some using stickers and polls and all these things that they offer to you. And why? Why do you even want them? Well, a third of the most viewed stories are actually businesses. 500 million people are viewing stories every single day. And brands usually post an average of about 2.6 stories a week. You'll see some people do way more than this. But 62% of people say they've become more interested in a product after seeing it in stories. And marketers are now spending a lot more money on their stories because they realize this. So these are some stories that I created. See, they don't look beautiful. They're just very organically created, advertising what Aviva and I were doing today, that we're just going to be sharing this series with you. And that's the look that people actually expect. No one would confuse me with a graphic designer, that's for sure. But you can take pre-existing photos, you can make videos on the fly. The videos all have to be 10 seconds or less, or they'll be broken up into little stories, individual stories. But it's a great way to just experiment and start to talk with people. And I started talking about making the most of stories. Once you've created a story, which is a video or an image, you can put polls into that story. They give you a drop-down option, which is amazing because you can actually ask your consumers questions and get the answers back. People love to engage with polls. They love when you ask a question. There's GIFs that you can put. There's different effects like filters. People always talk about filters. There's music. There are stickers. So there are a ton of things that you can do to make a plain picture really pop on Instagram and really make it something special. Now, Instagram and Facebook have a special relationship, and you can share your Instagram stories to your Facebook stories because, if you don't already know, Facebook has purchased Instagram a few years ago for more money than any of us will ever see in our lifetimes, a boatload, because they realized that people were really into this video and visual feed. And so because Facebook owns Instagram, if you have a Facebook business page and an Instagram business profile, you can do a lot of cool stuff that's very helpful to you as a business owner. You can link your accounts together so that when you post something to your business page on Instagram, it automatically shares it to Facebook. Aha, 2 posts for the price of 1. That's always helpful for busy on-the-go business owners. Also, content from Instagram is always prioritized by Facebook and that tricky Facebook algorithm. So we always want ways that we can get our content through the algorithm. You can also, build ads for both Facebook and Instagram in one place in your Facebook Ads Manager. And that way you have one place in Ads Manager where you can view and see how Instagram ads and Facebook ads are doing. You may choose to only put your ads on Facebook, depending on your strategy, of course, and your demographics, but you might also choose to optimize them and put them on Instagram, which is really helpful. Also, it just gives you 2 opportunities to reach your target demographic per that one piece of content. We all love a 2 for the price of 1 here. You all are busy. And so a little pro tip, when you share your Instagram stories, you can share them, if you're linked, onto Facebook stories as well. This saves you time, effort, more engagement. It's very, very helpful. And this is a tip that I would say, if you're going to try and you're going to use Instagram, let's go ahead and use those stories and get more bang for your buck, so to speak. Go ahead and put them on Facebook. You might reach different people and different audiences that way. I always get on Instagram a lot of questions about, what are these influencers all about? Am I an influencer? Do I need an influencer? Should I hire an influencer? Basically, an Instagram influencer is someone who has the power to affect the purchasing decisions because of their influence, their position, their knowledge, their authority, their relationship with an audience. They come in all shapes and sizes. I think what we probably hear the most about are beauty influencers, maybe a food influencers, celebrities as influencers, but they really come in all different topics and sizes of influencers. So there are these macro influencers, huge numbers of followers. If you want to know who that is, let's look at these little brunette vixens in the corner. So of the Kenner Kardashians, this whole clan, the Jenner Kardashians, we see that Caitlyn and Kendall Jenner and Kim Kardashian, those 3 make up the top 5 Instagram influencers in the US. That is a lot of influential power. So when they post about something, one of those 3, it is seen by so many sets of eyes. They are macro influencers. Bloggers can be influencers, podcasters, famous YouTubers, of course, celebrities. Someone like Oprah is definitely an Instagram influencer. There are also key opinion leaders in sort of every topic you could imagine, whether it's theology or medicine. There are influencers. I'm working with right now an orthodontist influencer. They come in every niche and every sort of industry. And then there are local voices. When you think about who are the influencers in Kansas City, there are certainly key members of our government who are influencers. There might be celebrities who are influencers, and there might be people like in the media who are influencers. Now, if you're thinking of utilizing an influencer for your business or your brand, this is my little tip to you. Consider a local voice of authority or a micro influencer. This is small. This means someone with less than 50,000 followers. That seems like a lot to all of us, but again, with these Jenners and Kardashians, it's really small. There's also something called nano influencers that have 10,000 followers or less. So someone like Micah and Diana from Hitch Fit, or someone like Laura Lane Culinary, they're actually local influencers. So if your business is interested in engaging with them in some way, you might talk to someone like that in your community to be an influencer to you. Always happy to chat about what the next steps in that process is. So we're going to wrap up our Instagram session. I'm sure we're going to have lots of questions. A lot of people want to know, should I share something in a story or a post? Well, it really depends. Is this evergreen content, meaning will it last the lifetime of your brand, or is it really time sensitive? If it's something time sensitive like a sale or quick, you have 24 hours to buy these discounted food subscription. Well, that should be a story because that opportunity is going to go like that. You don't want it lingering in your feed on your page and people thinking that opportunity is still existing. If you're looking for answers or engagement from your followers, you really want to talk to them about something, create a story because you can use those polls and question options. Also, what does the content look like? If it's very professional and it's a reflection of your page, maybe it's a beautifully made asset, I'd probably want to use something like that in a post. And think about how long you want people to have access to that. If it's in a story, it's just going to be 24 hours, but you can always save it and highlight it. Also, you always want to generate awareness and discoverability using a ton of hashtags. If you want to use a ton of hashtags, you want to put it in a post. And so just some different things to think about as well. Again, even though a story disappears, you can and should keep it in your highlight album that exists right at the top of your page on Instagram. And then if you're thinking about using stories, think about this. Most users just scroll through their Instagram and they watch the videos without sound. But 70% of people who are watching stories have the sound on. So that's something to really think about for your strategy. We talked a little bit about how do you know if a personal or business Instagram account is the right thing for you. And we're always going to suggest business accounts if you're providing a service, or if you already have a Facebook business page, or if you have a catalog of things to shop for, get a business account. I think where this becomes murky is if you're an individual who owns a business and the business is you. Take our friend and amazing local artist, Jenny Meyer McCall, who might be on this call today. Hi, Jenny. She's a really remarkable artist, but she is the product. Her paintings are the product. However, you'll see she has a business page because she wants access to all of these other features. Also, it gives her consumers and her followers a way to shop on her site. You'll see that she has a little button for gift cards. If you offer any kind of service, even if it's let's say consulting, or if you weave tapestries, you want to give people a way to correspond with you and to shop. So go ahead and have a business page. And remember, you've got those shoppable posts, you've got Instagram ads when you have a business page, you have access to Instagram analytics, which are so incredibly helpful, and you have the ability to use a third-party tool to schedule your posts. If you are a busy business owner, you want the ability to schedule those posts so you're not having to go in and do it every single time yourself. And Aviva will give us tools and ways to do that towards the end. So I think we're ready to open it up for questions on Instagram general. Aviva, do we have anything in the chat?
Yeah, we have some great questions. So thanks so much, everyone, for submitting them. We'll try to get through a few of them, and then if we have time at the very end, I'll go back in and try to catch as many as we can. So one of our questions is around, and this is great, actually. It's from We Build for Life, and their question is, how important is it to have a plan in place versus just starting to post?
Oh my gosh, if you know Aviva and I, you know we love a strategy. It's important to get going and post for sure. But I think you want to first back up and consider, we'll talk about this a little bit at the end, so I won't go into too much detail, but who's your target demographic? What do they want from your posts? And what's your goal for Instagram? And then get going. You don't have to have every single piece of content planned out for the next quarter. That may be too much for you at this point, but you do have to understand what your consumers want to make sure that what you're posting is actually giving them some value, because that's when you'll see actual results.
Yeah, I would agree. And we'll talk about some tools that can help you with that as well. And then we have a question from Rajesh, which is, he has a health and wellness business, and he wants just a couple of action steps on how to get started.
So if you're getting started, first, what we talked about in the slide about getting your business page set up, start that, do the work about who your target demographic is, and then Aviva will go through some things at the end about how you should collect your content. But I would research some hashtags related to the things that you're discussing. There are a ton in the health, fitness, wellness range. And then if you're going to get started right now, start following some other businesses who are doing something similar to what you're doing and start getting some ideas from them.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. It's always really good to learn from those that are in your space. And it doesn't necessarily need to be your spot on competition either, although you should know who your competition is. And you should definitely start researching them as well. And then one final question on Instagram, and then we'll move on to Twitter. We've got a question asking, how often do you recommend using the 5x5 method to boost in the algorithm?
Gosh, so I don't have a scientific or data-driven answer for that. So I would say anytime you can remember to do it, which for most business owners is not often. I would say schedule in time at the beginning of the month to do that. The more you do it, honestly, the more results you'll see from it. So if you can do it once a week, that would be amazing. Sometimes that feels like too much. Definitely once a month.
Okay, great. So if you have other questions, just go ahead and throw them into chat and I'll keep checking. And again, we'll do our best to answer as many as we can while we're together today. So we're going to move into Twitter now. And we shared with you in the beginning some of the highlights on Twitter. But really the key with Twitter is it is ideal for public relations and real-time customer engagement. So how many people are on Twitter? Actually, 22% of adults in the US use Twitter, and Generation Z is the highest demographic on Twitter. 40% of Twitter users have a college education, which is a little bit higher than the national average of 31%, and 41% of Twitter users have an income above $75,000. 12% of the general population gets their news on Twitter, but over 75% of Twitter users get their news from Twitter. And I will say, my husband is one of those people. Watching video is the #3 reason people use Twitter. So good for you to know that if you're gonna be on Twitter, you absolutely need to incorporate video as a part of your assets. Now, the lifespan for tweets is 7 minutes. That's it. And it's because of that that brands typically post 3 to 30 times a day. So there's no question Twitter is a commitment. And you need to ask yourself, based on what type of business you have and who your target consumer is it the right format for you? I'm not by any means trying to discourage you, because the outcomes of Twitter are phenomenal if it's a great fit for your business. We just want to be really honest with you that if you're going to invest your time and energy in a Twitter business account, you're going to have to be very disciplined and very dedicated to sticking with it.
So speaking of, let's talk about a brand or business who did a bang up job using Twitter. Wendy's. I'm always talking about food examples, I've known, if you've seen this whole series. So Wendy's,
time of day.
I know, why not? Wendy's in 2017, they sort of reinvented their brand as sassy and challenging. This is also known as my daughter during the pandemic, sassy and challenging. But what they wanted to do was really target millennials. And so what they did is they thought, how can we use our Twitter account, knowing that's where millennials are? That became part of their strategy. And so they started sort of roasting other accounts, both personal accounts like myself and their competitors. And people really liked it. They got into it. So individuals started saying things like, hey, Wendy's, tagging them at Wendy's, where's the nearest McDonald's? And then Wendy's would post a picture of a trash can. So they started doing things like that, and people really loved it. They loved the sarcastic Wendy's. And so within 3 months, they gained 300,000 followers. It wasn't unheard of that their tweets would be retweeted, have tens of thousands of likes and comments. So in terms of engagement and followers, this was really, really working for them. So they stuck to what worked, which was this funny, roasting kind of personality. And then they happened upon an amazing opportunity that they took amazing advantage of. A 16-year-old named Carter tweeted at Wendy's, hey Wendy's, how many retweets would I need to get free nuggets for life? It's teeny tiny here, so you won't be able to see it, but Wendy said 18 million. What an answer, right? Well, this kid took it upon his life's mission to get his tweet retweeted or reshared 18 million times. All of his friends started retweeting it. Other people who saw it thought it was funny and started retweeting it. Wendy's thought it was funny, so started retweeting it. And that's how things go viral, is when people see something and they really connect with it, and person after person starts retweeting it, and all of a sudden that hashtag Nugs for Carter, started being retweeted. It started to go viral, and then celebs got in on this. Featured Carter and its Nugs for Carter on her show. Microsoft, IBM got in on it and started retweeting it. Apple, Breaking Bad was really big at this time. The actors in Breaking Bad started retweeting it. So it was amazing, amazing, amazing. So what happened? Well, he didn't make it to 18 million retweets, but he made it to 3.5 million retweets, which has gone in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most retweeted tweet of all time. This tweet had 2.5 billion impressions. It increased Wendy's Twitter engagement by 376%. They had almost 24 million views of Wendy's Twitter account in 4 weeks. And they earned 213,000 more followers just because of Sweet Carter and his hashtag Nugs for Carter. Plus, people loved it. This was featured in the New York Times. People thought this was amazing, and Wendy's went with it. Now, the kid didn't make it to make the number of retweets, but Wendy's has a heart. They gave Carter his nuggets. They also donated $100,000 to the David Thomas Foundation as kind of a goodwill gesture about how fun this was. And he did get the free nuggets. And then this kid has a really entrepreneurial spirit that I like. He launched his own t-shirt company featuring, you guessed it, Nugs for Carter. Really smart. Well, that's all fun and that's great. And you'll see that Wendy's did really well on social media because of it. But what did that mean for Wendy's bottom line and their business goals? It was a huge payoff. They increased profits by 49.7% that year. That year, they hit over 10 billion in global sales. And for the first time, Wendy's finally experienced growth in that under 30 millennial demographic. So they really, really reached their goals. They did it in a way that they had set upon as part of their strategy. And then they saw opportunities and they were flexible and they took them. And so the lessons learned really for your business is, what is your voice going to be on Twitter? How are you going to use it for your business? And what strategy are you going to employ so that you can reach your business goals? When you're thinking about all these things, of course, we also have this additional challenge or wrinkle in our moment in time, which is COVID-19. COVID has really affected Twitter. So Twitter's audience grew 14% from January to April, and this is the most growth that the platform's ever seen since it started reporting that metric. Huge growth. Everyone wanted to see what's going on. World Health Organization is tweeting more times in the first quarter than it did all of last year. So many people were tweeting about COVID that Twitter actually added a COVID-19 tab to organize and manage all of this content. And as of May, when we last got a report, there were 628 million new COVID-related tweets. It continues to trend. That hashtag COVID-19 continues to trend on Twitter every single day. The top 3 accounts discussing COVID: former President Obama, President Donald Trump, and CNN breaking news. What also we're seeing the trend on Twitter is that people were using COVID-19 as a chance to really connect. They wanted a lot of information. They wanted help. They were not using this as a means or reason to sell. And I think that's what's most important, is you have to understand how your brand can help or entertain or delight or inspire during this time. It may lead to sales, but if you lead with sales on social media, it's going to give people a bad taste in their mouth. So how are you going to use Twitter for your business? So the average individual user follows 5 businesses, and 80% of everyone on Twitter has mentioned a brand in a tweet. 60% of a brand's followers will purchase or recommend a product to a friend. So if someone's following you, they are paying attention to what you have to say. We wanted to feature a local business that's doing awesome on Twitter and always has. Boulevardia is doing great, and you'll see they're doing sort of everything right. They're talking and they're with their consumers. They're engaging. They have awesome images. Look at these great colors. They have a great profile picture. They're using their branded hashtag BLVDIA. They're tagging Boulevard Beer. They are information, can't this year, so they're giving information about what's going on. So they're really good if you want to follow a local business. And so when you get started on Twitter, you want to build out that profile that stands out with whatever it is. You want to have a great and fully formed profile and pictures. You want to create a branded hashtag for you. And then you want to tweet, tweet, tweet. As Aviva said, Twitter is a numbers game. And so people are expecting that your business will be giving a lot of information on Twitter. So if you're going to use Twitter, we already talked about using hashtags. Tweets with hashtags get 100% more engagement than those without. And I suggest using 1 to 3. Don't use more than that. Tweets with images get 89% more favorite, or that little heart button. And tweets with video get 10 times the engagement and 6 times the chance of being retweeted. So we're really seeing a lot of great tips and the kind of content and how you share it. KC SourceLink has amazing resources, and you'll see their profile is fully filled out. They have that nice link to their website. They have 16,000 followers here. They've associated themselves with some hashtags in their profile. They let you know it's KC, they let you know it's for entrepreneurs, and then they're giving a lot of good resources. They're linking to their blog. They have good assets. So that's a really good business type of Twitter profile to follow to get some more information on. And Twitter also is always going to be a great place where customers are expecting you to provide customer service. I don't know how many times that I've had maybe an issue with a flight, and the fastest way I can get information from Southwest is by tweeting at Southwest Airlines. What's going on here? People are expecting that your business will do the same. And when a business responds to a customer's tweet, that customer is willing to spend more on purchases, 3 to 20% more. They're 44% more likely to share their positive experience with others, and they're 30% more likely to recommend the business. So over here we have this example. Drew was saying, Photoshop, I love you, but you got to fix this feature, right? He wasn't happy with what was going on, and he tagged Adobe. And you'll see that same day, Adobe addressing him by name. Hi, Drew, I'm sorry to hear you about this. This is a known issue for engineers. Could you please look at the workaround? So they're addressing him by name, giving him a solution, making him feel cared about, and they're signing some initials of the person who took care of it. It really personalizes the experience. So if you're going to think about using it for customer service, again, be prompt, because the expectation is you will handle that in 24 hours or less. You want to be conversational but professional, of course. Signing your tweets with initials always help people feel inspired, and it helps them get a feeling like they're tracking the progress instead of, I don't know, someone at Johnny's Tavern said, or someone at Adobe said, oh, someone was AK, can you help me with that issue? Also, you can ask customers to send you a DM, remember, a direct message with relevant information, screenshots. It helps you from having to get on the phone. It helps you from having to exchange 1,000 emails. It's a place where you can really handle something and hopefully give some great customer service. It's very public facing and people love it. Wanted to give a shout out to Johnny's Tavern. I had asked them something. I had asked something on Twitter, and my friend Mark Van Pale, who's a different social media guy here in town, recommended Johnny's Tavern to answer that question. And within 36 seconds, as you can see, they had already replied to him. Thanks, Mark. And they gave him a fun little GIF that he could see. They are excellent at replying back quickly and interestingly. So if you're wondering, what does that mean for a local business, check out Johnny's Tavern. They have some really good things to share.
Great, Christina. I always learn so much from Christina. I love it when she talks about all social media. And really candidly, I don't have the Twitter account. So it's always really interesting for me to hear about, should I be considering it since things change so much? So one of the questions that I know many of you are asking yourselves, but that we also got from our 101 class is Twitter right for my business?
All right, so is Twitter right for you? Are you going to have time for daily interactions? And who is your target demographic? Are they on Twitter? If they are, and you heard from Aviva who is there and how are they using it, it's a great place to meet them where they are, but you have to engage. Kansas City Chiefs has an amazing Twitter, as do the Royals. Take a look and see how they're engaging with fans and athletes. You have to be in it to win it, so to speak, on Twitter. And it has to be real-time engagement. A lot of what we always suggest, of course, is scheduling out your post, taking that off your daily to-do. But with Twitter and with Instagram, frankly, when it talks about engagement, getting in there and engaging with people, that has to really be done in real time. So think about your competition. Are they on Twitter? How are they using Twitter? How can you best use Twitter, knowing it's a commitment? I always will add, don't let Twitter become a career limiting risk. And what I mean by that is, I think in the last 3 months, we have seen 3 CEOs really step in it on Twitter, so to speak, and actually resign or retire early. The most stunning example of this is recently the CEO, Greg Glassman of CrossFit, posted a really unfortunate or disgusting tweet about George Floyd, and CrossFit lost all sorts of sponsors within a week. And wouldn't you know it, within 2 weeks, Greg Glassman retired from CrossFit. So if the person running your Twitter has the knowledge and information of what you are comfortable doing on Twitter, know that they're good to engage in real time. But if you're going to have senior leaders or a marketing person run your Twitter, there needs to be some definite rules and guidelines about what they can, should, think about tweeting. So just some things to think about for you for sure. And then again, since today's all about Instagram and Twitter, well, which one's best? All right, so we know that both are having a similar age group and demographics, but they're really different in how they look visually and the kind of content. Instagram's getting this crazy number of engagement. Twitter has all of this crazy amount of content. Instagram's really designed to keep you in the app, playing in the app. Twitter's linking you away right and left to blogs and news articles and YouTubes and all of these things. But really, we go back to the basics. Who is your target demographic? Where are you? What are you offering? And how can you best serve your audience? If you are someone that wants to engage in a lot of conversation and wants to showcase your services and wants to talk and provide customer service and really get in it, then Twitter might be for you. If you are in the food space and you want to highlight your beautiful dining experiences, or an artist and you want to highlight your beautiful videos of your art, then maybe Instagram's the way for you. So really stop and think, and that's that strategy part. Can I handle this commitment? What's it going to look like? And does it match my overall business goals? And then set your social media strategy.
Good. Okay, so we've had a few questions come in. One of them is a question we get asked a lot, and it is from Kay, and her question is, what do you think about making a political stand in marketing? So, Christina, I've got my opinion, but I'd actually like to hear your opinion first.
All right. So it depends what your brand is, what your business is, and you must 100% unequivocally stand behind it. There are brands and businesses such as the Human Rights Campaign. They're making political statements all day and night. They should. That makes sense for them. If you sell printer ink, I'm not sure you want to get into that space unless it is so important to you as a business leader and the ethos of that whole brand that you do. So a brand like Patagonia or REI, that's part of their ethos as a business. So they will often make political statements, but you have to be prepared to stand behind them and know tweets are forever. Even if you delete them, someone could take a screenshot of them, and you must be prepared to face the consequences, good or bad.
Yeah, I would agree with everything Christina says. And I would even extend it beyond just your business pages. So I know for a lot of small and medium-sized business owners, the owner is part of the brand of the organization. And so I would say the same thing when it comes to your personal pages as well. In general, my recommendation is politics is just one of those polarizing topics, and we just don't recommend you put yourself or your company in a situation where you're at risk of losing customers or clients. And the exception would be exactly what Christina described, which is if your business has that type of positioning, then it's part of your brand. So it makes sense. But if it isn't, not only for your business would I not recommend it, but even on a personal level, because the lines tend to blur, especially in a community like Kansas City, where we are so close, and we really cherish and try to support all of our local business owners. And why would you want to alienate anybody? I mean, that's just the way I think of it. So we've had a couple of questions about getting links. So you will get a link for this presentation, I believe, after it's done. It might take 24 hours. And I know some of you, we've had the joy of having on all of our webinars, and some folks we know, because it happens to us too, you sign up for a webinar and you end up with a conflict. I'm not 100% sure on how you access that link. My understanding is if you go to the Women's Business Center site, that you can either have a contact that you can reach out and ask for that information. I know that everything is recorded, and they have just launched a YouTube channel, and those recordings are on that. So you might just have to research a little bit on how to get to it, or like I said, just reach out to the Women's Business Center and they can go ahead and guide you on how to get links. However, we are teaching these classes again, so we would love to have you. Let me see here. Okay, so somebody asked, before I launch my brand, should I delete my political statements on Twitter?
Well, okay, so this is a really interesting question. I'd be interested to know what your brand is, so it might be a little too specific for today, but if you've already put them out there, they've already been there and people already know. So you probably are going to stand behind them. You can delete them, but people then will know you deleted them, right? And so it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation. I think it also depends on what your brand is and how much you're going to share from your business Twitter to your individual Twitter. Will it be quite obvious, like in the example we had of Micah and Diana from HitchFit? They are their brand. And so when they post on Instagram, it is them. He might post something about his vacation. I mean, it's all intertwined. If that's what that's going to look like for you, know that people then are going to get to know the whole bucket of you. If you're going to run your business but be separate from your brand, then it may look different. There really is no straight and narrow answer for that, unfortunately. It's really your comfort level and who else is involved with your business.
Okay, so the next few slides, we are just going to summarize and wrap up and give you a few tools. We probably have about 10 more minutes. So if you have questions about anything that we have discussed today, please feel free to submit your questions in chat, and we will do our best to try to answer them before we have to leave you today.
As we wrap up, it's important. We're so grateful to the Women's Business Center for providing these kind of COVID-centered classes to people, because COVID has impacted how you can and will use social media last quarter, this quarter, the rest of the year, and next year for sure. Right now, you're seeing that use and engagement in social media is up. This means you're going to have a high level of engagement with people who are spending more time online, and you're going to have followers who are ready for your content. They're seeking this inspiration and escapism and entertainment. And so take advantage and give them some content, and also take advantage if you're going to use boosted posts or sponsored ads or sponsored tweets. take advantage of that, because across the board in almost every single industry, ad spend is down. This means that the cost to promote a tweet or to have an Instagram ad or sponsored post, the cost is down right now. So small businesses have a good chance of seeing results from their social media advertising. So why not take advantage of that? But plan out your content and your strategy, keeping in mind that the news cycle is crazy right now. We have COVID, we're about to have an election. You need to be sensitive with the content that you're sharing.
Okay, so as we wrap up, just some social media do's and don'ts, and we will also have this as a part of the handouts that we'll send to you. Christina and I said from the very beginning, we want you to have a strategy that links with your business goals. So as you think about which social media platform is for you, think about what your business stands for, how it interacts with the consumer, and who that consumer or customer, if you're B2B, how they like to be communicated to, and what platforms they're actually on. Every time you think about creating a post, think about how it will impact your brand. And we always recommend that you try to keep a balance between promotions and incentives, information and fun. We don't want you to ever get stale or boring on social media, because social media is exciting. And always we will tell you, tell your story. Go back to Lauren Lane or HitchFit. They do a phenomenal job. They really don't try to sell. It's really about who they are and their brands. Always remain professional, because again, it is an extension of your business, and track your results. So identify what those key performance indicators are for you and your strategy, and keep track of it so you can get a sense of what kinds of posts generate the most engagement, generate the most clicks to your website. And then, like we said from the very beginning, reciprocity is so important. So while we'll always encourage you to like their pages or their posts, Christina taught us today that if you want to follow the 5x5 methodology, you also have to comment. Because really, just like you want people to do that for your posts, be a good neighbor. And for other businesses, especially those in Kansas City, or your friends, or whatever the case might be, help them with their algorithms, and make sure you conduct reciprocity. So we know that a lot of this can be really overwhelming. And I've said a couple of times, really candidly, I mean, for my business, the right platforms for me are Facebook and LinkedIn. And I don't have business sites on Instagram or Twitter. And honestly, it's because it's a little overwhelming, but also it's just not where my target consumer is for my business. Christina is on all four of them because she is a social media strategist, and it makes perfect sense for her. But as you go about tackling the social media platforms, we don't want you to feel overwhelmed. So here are 3 different tools that you can use to help create beautiful content creation. All you need is to just go ahead and Google what they are, and they'll give you a good description, and they will help you create just really beautiful content. And then when it comes to scheduling, there are apps that are available to help you with that. So Hootsuite, Social Pilot, and Buffer, they will help you with scheduling, and they're very, very commonly used. Meet Edgar and Sprout Social are a little more sophisticated. So not only will they help you with scheduling, but they will also help you curate content based on what you tell them you're wanting to find. They're a little more expensive, but they give you many, many more features. So tips for building your plan. If you haven't heard it once, you must have had us on mute. We've been saying it a lot. We want you to be consistent. So find that time to engage. On a daily basis, if you're going to be on Instagram and on Twitter, to create stories and share tweets, those are 2 things that you can't just schedule. So aside from the scheduling, those are ways that you can engage with your consumers. And then we want you to plan. If you've joined us for our Facebook and LinkedIn sessions, we recommended 30 to 60 days in advance. Really, for these 2 platforms, we think 30 days is plenty because of the frequency. with which you recommend, with which we recommend that you are active. But also plan on being flexible, because both of these platforms are about trending topics. So while you can create a framework over the next 30 days, be ready to address something that is trendy and if it pertains to your business. We suggest you set aside time at the end of each month. So today is July 29th. You have a couple more days to get organized for how you want to tackle Instagram and Twitter for the month of August. Of course, you can always hire somebody to do that for you as well. And a lot of companies do that. In minimum, overall, marketers for social media will say at least 6 hours a week should be dedicated to planning and activating your social media plan. Gather those photos and videos, get them organized, put them in a file. And if you like the idea of using apps to help create and schedule posts, we highly endorse that, because it will take a little bit of pressure and stress off of your already really big to-do list. So you might be asking yourself, well, if I have to post that often, what am I going to post? It's a lot of content. There's always something to post. So we gave you lots of great ideas of businesses that you can follow to get some ideas. If you're on Twitter, you can always retweet for both platforms. You can share product sneak peeks, sales, promotions, contests. You can spotlight employees. You can provide some customer appreciation. And if you have the opportunity where your customers or clients are bragging on you or using your products and services, and they happen to post in social media, that's a total bonus for you, because that's user-generated content. And for sure, do your best to really amplify the reach and engagement for that. And there's always something around holidays, and it's not just the ones on the calendar. You wouldn't believe the kinds of holidays that are there. There's barely a day in the calendar year that isn't a happy blank day for something. So we wanted to just give you a couple of tools. I know that when I've participated in workshops or webinars in the past, I leave them feeling very inspired and energized, but then I go on to my next thing and I kind of forget about it. So in our handout, we will give you an August paper calendar, so you can print it out and mark it up. So you're welcome to do that. And then we'll also say, please connect with us. So you can connect with me personally or as Solve KC on Facebook and LinkedIn, with Christina and with her company, Ovations Digital, on Facebook, LinkedIn. Christina is on Instagram and Twitter as well. We will be teaching our entire 4-class series in October again, and I am teaching a consumer targeting webinar next Wednesday at 1 p.m. I'm just going to look real quick here to see if we've got any final questions. Okay, so here's a quick final question. How much should we expect to spend on Instagram to launch a small campaign?
So in terms of, if you're talking about ad spend, it just really depends on your business and demographic. If you're talking about, you know, in times of hours and that kind of spend, I'm not sure. But I think what's most important is the assets that you're going to use. So you may need to spend the money up front to get the assets that you need. So that might, depending on what industry you're in, be either for beautiful photography that looks right on Instagram, for graphic design services, for someone to edit video. I would say spend the money on the resources for your strategy and then for your assets. Once you're doing things right, then you'll be able to go into Instagram and through your Facebook business page and kind of test out how much, you know, Instagram ads are going to be. They're not, and again, just depends on your niche industry.
Okay, that's great. Good answer, Christina. That's it. We just have a lot of thank yous coming in. Thank you to everybody for joining us. This has really been a lot of fun for us, and we hope that you learned a lot and you have a little more confidence and you're a little bit inspired on how to tackle social media for your business. Christina, would you like to say anything in closing?
Yes, thank you so much for joining us. I would say don't be afraid to try things. I said, gosh, don't get fired for what you post on Twitter, but don't be afraid to try Instagram stories, to make them a little messy. Don't be afraid to try to share a lot of tweets and see if you can do it. Don't be afraid to create a strategy for your business, to really use these two. Often businesses are a little nervous about Twitter, a little nervous on Instagram. They've understood what to do on LinkedIn. Facebook has been around a long time, but sometimes Instagram and Twitter give a lot of preconceived notions and fear, as Aviva talked about kicking us all off. Don't be afraid. Reach out to a strategist. If you're unclear about what to do, you can always hire someone to come in for 5 hours or to come in and build you a strategy that then your team executes. And sometimes that's honestly the best thing to do
Yeah.
if you're just not sure. But we really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you for all the nice words, and please do share with your friends that they can join us in for Aviva's class next week and in October.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.